There are strong rumors circulating that the new long-awaited MacBook Air could be our hardware surprise of WWDC 2022. And so if or when that happens, here's everything that you need to know about the latest MacBook Air. First off, we should be getting a slightly new body. The design of the current MacBook Air has been synonymous with the company's thinnest notebook since October of 2010. The existing taper design goes from thicker at the back to thinner at the front. By contrast, this new MacBook Air is expected to look much more like a slimmed down version of a MacBook Pro, with rounded edges on the bottom and squared off edges on the top. Rumors have also suggested that the new MacBook Air is thinner and lighter, with slimmer borders around the display than the current model. Now, the MacBook Air should also borrow a few elements from the 24-inch iMac. Now, for starters, it's been rumored that it could come in a few different color variations like blue, green, pink, silver, yellow, orange, and purple. Apple has even been posting some new WWDC artwork with 7 matching colors that could signify the MacBook Air colors, but usually whenever I try to speculate or read into the event invites or the artwork, it's just speculation at best and usually nothing more. If Apple decides to go this colorful route and take inspiration from the 24-inch iMac, it's possible that Apple could have that two-toned look with the colors. There's going to be a more darker, vibrant version on the top and bottom of the machine, and then on the inside of the MacBook Air, there'll be a pastel version of whatever color you choose. Now, speaking of the inside, there are tons of other potential changes here, like off-white bezels and a matching off-white keyboard. Given that Apple adopted full-size function keys on its latest MacBook Pro models, that also could be coming to the MacBook Air as well. Now, going back to the display, while I like the idea of white bezels like the iMac, one rumor that sounds interesting to me is the inclusion of a notch. Apple first included a notch in the Mac with the release of the MacBook Pro last year, and some rumors are circulating about a notch in the MacBook Air, but a white notch with white bezels seems like it could make the notch stand out a lot more than it does on the MacBook Pro with a black notch and black bezels. This will be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. I suppose it's possible that that rumor could be wrong and Apple forgoes a notch and sticks with white bezels, which would probably look the best in my opinion, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the 2022 MacBook Air will feature a display size of 13.6 inches, according to display analyst Ross Young. This would make it 0.3 inches larger than the current MacBook Air, but still 0.6 inches smaller than the current 14.2 inch MacBook Pro. It's minor changes, but it's worth noting. Young has also told us that the 2022 MacBook Air will not feature mini LED display or ProMotion technology. This will run counter to claims from DigiTimes that this year's MacBook Air will get a mini LED display, but Young maintains that it will use LCD to maintain a lower price point compared to the higher end MacBook Pros. If we go further into the MacBook Air, it's going to be what Apple Silicon are we going to get? Is it going to be the M2 or the M1? And a lot of people have been expecting the M2 chip, but now it appears that maybe we might get an M1 instead, and Apple could hold out with the M2 for later. It's all kind of just up in the air. Apple could release a slightly different version or iteration of the M1 chip to kind of help buy time for releasing new Macs with the M2 chip next year when TSMC's more powerful and advanced N3 fabrication process becomes available. Apple could call the chip in the next MacBook Air the M2 to boost sales, but it may opt to save again that M2 name for a more substantial upgrade over the previous generation in 2023 to further enhance Apple Silicon's brand image. To sum all of that up, just in case you were confused, it's either going to be an M1 or an M2 chip. Personally, I'm thinking M2, but we'll just have to see how that plays out as well. 2022 could finally be the year that almost all Macs will feature a 1080p webcam, so there's that bit of good news, and one would assume a new 1080p webcam in the MacBook Air would bring center stage right alongside it. It also looks like MagSafe could make its way back to the MacBook Air, but don't expect any other ports like the MacBook Pro got, instead of maybe just, MagSafe and a couple of Thunderbolt 4 USB-C ports. Now, a new MacBook Air announcement at WWDC certainly isn't, something that's definitely going to happen. Apple could well decide to hold back the notebook in favor of a release later in the year when the ongoing supply chain issues are less impactful on its business and production. But But rumors have been rampant, and it seems like it's going to be at least maybe announced at next week's event. Also, it's worth pointing out that Apple's existing MacBook Air models are the only M1 Macs on its online store that are currently experiencing shipping delays, which could always be a hint that Apple is preparing to launch a new model. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything that we just talked about and the new MacBook Air in the comments down below. This has been Dan with Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.